So we are going, okay then, so with that in mind, one of the many things you could spend your time and energy on is Instagram. And I'm not going to do a class about Instagram. I'm not going to write a lot of posts about Instagram because I prefer to talk and work with people about, okay, in order to be effective at any tool, you first need to know your mission, your strategy, and then the tactics. So it goes mission, strategy, tactics. This is how the military works. This is how organizations work, big corporations, and this is how your business needs to work. So before you fall all in love with a tool and you read a lot about 10 ways to get new Instagram followers or 30 ways to get traffic from Periscope, you first have to know why the heck you're doing it, right? So the why you're doing it is your mission. Your strategy is how are you going to go about doing your mission. So this is when you pick your tools. And then the tactics are like, what specifically are you going to do in order to make the mission happen, right? So mission is where you want to go. Strategy is how you're going to get there. Tactics are all the little daily individual things you're going to do. So the tactics would be like some of the things I'm going to talk about today about Instagram. Now, I want you to keep in mind, this is my experience with Instagram, my very specific business where I sell books and workshops to makers and artists that help them with their business. If you sell a product, it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to point out some ways that it's different. Ooh, someone put a comment on Periscope and I missed it. I'm sorry. If you want to type it in again, you're welcome to. So you guys can follow me on Instagram if you want to see what I'm talking about at Tara Swigert. Normally I have a business card to hold up at this point that says at Tara Swigert, but I think you guys can figure it out. I haven't drank much of my coffee today because this morning has been crazy, so I'm going to be drinking it throughout. So with that in mind, mission, strategy, tactics, I'm going to be talking today about the tactics of Instagram. And the reason I'm doing this on a Periscope and not a blog post or an email is because I think too many people are worried about tactics and not enough about their mission and strategy. So the kind of content I put into the world, ooh, I was in the webinar about having problems. Okay, that's fine. So if you guys don't know, I'm also broadcasting this to test my webinar software. This is not like an official webinar. It's just a Periscope that's also going out of my webinar software to test it out. I'm going to take another drink of. So does that make sense? The mission, strategy, tactics? I want to be really clear about that before I start talking about the tactics that I've been using. So you know, and so it makes sense. Hello, welcome. We're talking about Instagram. And if you guys have questions, you can ask either if you're watching with the webinar software, you're watching on Periscope, just ask in the comments. Excellent. So my mission is to, well, let's back up even more. So your mission probably is twofold. You probably have a mission about your own self and goals and life. Like my mission is to be self-employed and to make 100% of my income from being self-employed. But then you have a second part of your mission that is about what you're doing in the world, right? So my business isn't just about me making money so I don't have to go to a day job. My mission is also about, so there's the me side of it, and then there's the world-facing side of it. And the world-facing side of it is to help makers and artists have the confidence and the skills to become their own best business experts. Because I think what is holding a lot of people back from making a really awesome business around the thing they're passionate about is that they doubt themselves and they think they have to have someone else tell them what to do. Someone else give them permission, someone else tell them exact actions to take, someone else to give them a roadmap. When in fact, if you follow other people's roadmaps, other people's advice, other people's what worked for somebody else, you're going to end up with a business that's not the business you want. So it's really important to me to, I kind of hate the word, everybody always says they're empowering women, but really to empower people to make those decisions themselves. So that's my mission. So every tactic I do on Instagram has to be in alignment with that mission. So I could do a lot of things on Instagram that would get me more followers, but if it's not in alignment with that mission, then it's not going to move my business to where I want my business to be. Does that make sense? Okay. So my strategy then, the way I'm helping people do this is the first set of strategy is my products, right? I sell classes, I sell books, go around the country and I teach workshops. Thank you for the yeses. And then the second part of so that's the first part of my strategy is what I actually provide to people in order to do that. Then the next part of my strategy is how do I get people to know that the products exist in the world? How do I get people to know about the things I do to help them in their business? And that's marketing. And for me, my strategy around marketing is, this is funny because I didn't think this is where this class was going to go, or this little like mini lesson was going to go. But so I haven't fully thought this through into words. I just kind of know it. It's what I do day to day. So for me, my marketing strategy is built on two things: providing really great content, making sure that everything I share actually helps you do that bigger mission thing, which is to be your, thank you so much, Christian, I think it was, or Christina. So all of my content is about making you know you can trust yourself to make your business decisions, and then to help you actually figure out what are those business decisions and how you need to trust yourself. So that's what my email lessons are about, right? My email is my biggest tactic underneath that strategy because I can be really thorough and I can get right to you. I send the email right to you. It's very effective at reaching the people I'm trying to reach because it actually comes to your inbox. So much more effective for me and for most people I work with than social media tools in which not everybody sees what you posted, right? Because a super small percentage see what you post on Facebook. The same thing is true of Twitter and Instagram. Twitter and Instagram just don't tell you that in the way Facebook does. Because if you write a tweet and your followers are also following 2,000 other people, your tweet's going to be lost really, really soon. So only a super small percentage of your followers are seeing all your social media messages. Email, super effective because it goes right to them. So that's in my strategy, right? The first thing is to provide amazing content that helps people know they are their own business expert and gets them ready to be able to make the best use out of the products I sell, because not everybody is ready for the products I sell. Sometimes they don't realize that they need to start trusting themselves. Sometimes they don't realize that what's missing for them is actually having the confidence to take action. So the free content I put in the world helps people get ready to actually take action in their business. And then my products actually teach you how to take the action in your business, or they provide, like my online community, it provides the accountability and regular weekly and monthly review to make sure the actions you're taking are effective. Okay, so that's my mission. Then you can see my strategy is in alignment with that. Oh, I said my strategy is twofold. So the first is to provide really great content. The second is to be a real person. Thank you so much, Lynn. And the being a real person is super important because I'm not an expert, right? Like I have too many books and geeky. Did you guys see that Spock too? If you're watching the webinar, there's a Spock on this shelf as well. It's a Spock when he's talking to the rock. Okay, so being a real person has to be part of it, because if I just said, hey, you can trust yourself, you can have confidence in your business, you can be, because another part of what I teach is about bringing as much of you as possible into your business, because that's how you're going to connect best with your followers, with the people who buy from you. But if I said that and then I didn't bring myself, the message would be really hollow. It wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't be in integrity. And so by being myself, even when that makes me uncomfortable, like in the Biz Confidence Challenge, it's been going on Instagram, and you can find out more about that at tarasweiger.com/bizconfidence if you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's been a 6-week challenge where I've challenged you guys to do things to build your confidence, and I've been sharing my results too. And sometimes those results are really scary to share, which is funny. It's a lot easier for me to ask you guys to do it than for me to share it myself. So that my strategy is twofold. So then we get into tactics. Then we get into what tools am I going to use to share great content and to bring more of myself, my personality, my weird use of words, my geekery. How am I going to do that? So there is my blog and my newsletter and my podcast. Those are the big three. My blog and newsletter are kind of tied in a lot of ways. And my podcast and my blog are tied because my podcast goes on my blog at tarasweiger.com each week for those people who don't like download podcasts. So those are the big three. And then there's all the other tools, right? There's Pinterest. By pinning things, I can send people to my site. There's Twitter. By sharing links to things, I can send people to my site. And there is Instagram. And Instagram is wonderful because it is not just sending people back to your site. You're actually having to share a piece of you. And so I've been on Instagram, I probably should have checked before I started this class, I think about 2 years, and I haven't spent any time or energy building up a following there. Instead, I have just used it as another way for people who know me, because they took a class, because they met me at a conference, to just get to know me better. And so I wasn't super strategic about it. And instead, I was just sharing pictures from my life. But over the last month, it's actually been a month and a half, I've grown my Twitter following by something like 350-ish people. I should have looked at those exact numbers before I got on, but I didn't stop and track it back then. So that's around 350 people in the last month and a half. And because I mostly talk to businesses about mission and strategy, there's not a lot of opportunity for me to talk about these tactics, but I wanted to share it with you guys on Periscope, because I talk about on Periscope the things that I don't really have at the time or the space to talk about, like more officially on my blog and newsletter. So that leads us up into, okay, what tactics did I do to grow my Instagram following that much? The first one is to realize I had been thinking about Instagram as being the thing for people who already know me. But after talking to some people at Schoolhouse Craft, they were talking about how they use Instagram at the top of the customer path, or the beginning of the customer path, for total strangers to then find them and get to know them, and then move to their blog and podcast, and then move to their products. So your customer path is how people find you, fall in love with you, get to know you, and buy from you. And I've got a class on this on Creative Live, which is currently on sale. If you go to Creative Live and look for Tara Swigert, you'll find the class there. So the beginning of the path is somebody just first discovers you, right? I was thinking most people do this either through word of mouth, which is the best and most awesome way, or through finding my podcast, listening to my podcast. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So then they're on the path, right? And then they could follow me on Twitter and Instagram, get to know me more, and sign up for my emails. That's the big thing, because then the emails are going to help them get to know me and trust me, and also introduce them to my products, so then they purchase. So that's the beginning of a whole new path once they're my customers. But the people I was talking to were saying Instagram could be the very beginning of your path. By judicious use of hashtags and content and timing, you can make it so people actually discover you first on Instagram, and then get to know you there, then click through to your website, then do your email, and then they buy. And I was like, wow. That is all new way of thinking about it. So by changing the way I thought about it, that also changed the way I used it. And by thinking about it that way, I started using it in a way to actually get new people to find me. So the things I actually did is I use the site Iconosquare, ICONOSQUARE, to look at the times that my people were most active, and I posted in those times. And in the chat on Periscope, Truly Myrtle, who's Libby, was saying that that's how she uses it, and Carrie Bookish is saying that's how she finds Libby's Instagram feed so super inspirational. And Libby said she thinks of it as like Instagram is like meeting people at a party, which is true. But so I had been thinking about it's like you getting to know me after you already know me, right? It's like coming over for coffee after we've already met at a party. So by shifting the way I thought about it, it then shifted the kind of actions and the way I actually used it. Does that make sense so far? Also, I'm going to tell you, if you guys are finding this useful and you're watching on Periscope, or actually if you're watching on the webinar, scroll down and hit the share button. You can share this with your friends. If you're watching on Periscope, you can swipe over and hit the share button. Thank you, Kathleen, for inviting your followers. And also the hearts let me know that you're enjoying it and I'm not just talking into the void, because I know I'm getting kind of deep and talky here. So I am going to show you Iconosquare, because it is what I use to see when people are posting. Oh, the webinar is, there's no good way for me to give you the webinar link, Juliana, but actually if you're watching the Periscope, you're getting all the same content. Thank you for inviting your followers. Okay, so I need to sign in with Instagram to Iconosquare. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna show you on Periscope, and I'm gonna show you on the webinar. Oh no, I'm already logged in. Okay, so, oh, good, yay. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys on Periscope, and actually I have to go over here and share my screen share. I'm going to show you Iconosquare. So now those of you who are watching the webinar should be seeing, okay, oh man, I don't know if it's going to let you. Oh, no, it says I'm screen sharing. Awesome. Okay, so you can see when you're on Iconosquare, you can go up. You see where I am right here. Analytics, snapshots, manage. I think it's under analytics. And then over on the side, optimization. So you see right here, optimization. And actually, I'm just going to click over to see if those of you in the webinar, you can see it. Excellent. No, I did not get the paid version. This is still the free version. And see, it says right here, analytics are no longer supported for free users. I'm benefiting from a free 7-day trial. It says right here. So I would have to pay to keep getting this, and I'm kind of considering that. So what it's telling me here is these are my current posting habits. I post most at 10 a.m. and at like 5 p.m., and these are my days of the week. And then it tells you, if you look right here, when my people are most active. So the biggest dot is Monday at like 7, and then like Thursday at 8. And so I have been changing my posting habits to posting, and then again down here, Sunday at 5. So if I'm always posting at 5, and actually it used to, when I first joined, when I first started looking at this like a month ago, it got really big right here. Like I was like right here, I was doing all of my sharing at like 10 a.m. to noon and none back here. But over the past month, I've been sharing more and more when my people are more active, which is in the evenings. Now yours is going to look totally different. And Iconosquare is going to a paid version. So now I'm going to stop screen sharing. And I'm going to turn you guys back around. Ooh, that's a lot of manage. Yes, and Libby said regular posting gives you a feel for it. I think so, but I was not noticing what time of day I was posting that was getting the most results, because I really wasn't posting at all when most of my people were. So what you can do is log into Iconosquare, use a 7-day free trial to see when your people post the most often, make a note of it, and then you don't have to pay for Iconosquare if you don't want to. Several of my students are paying for it and are happy with it. They really like it. They get a lot out of it. A lot of people use that to get other information. There's a lot of other data on Iconosquare, but that's just what I use. You're so happily confused now. Okay, so do not look at the numbers I just showed you about my people, because your people are going to be different. You want to post when your followers are most active, and Iconosquare will show you when your followers are most active. So I made hi Jessica, I made a note of the times when my people are most active. So when my free trial with Iconosquare ends, if I decide not to keep using it, I don't have to. Oh, Jolie says it's like $3 a month. See, I didn't realize. I didn't even look into the paid thing. So it might be worth it to keep using, especially if Instagram is, like I said, at the beginning part of your customer path. If you are getting people who say, wow, I bought from you because I first saw you on Instagram, then it would be worth it to know when they're looking at it and post when they're going to see it, right? It'd be totally worth it. Because here's the thing I want you guys to keep in mind. I talked about my customer path, right? But your customer path is going to be different. Ooh, and Juliana says she sets phone's alarm for posting times. We're going to talk about that, how to post at the right times. Does Iconosquare the only thing it checks for followers? I'm not quite sure I understand that question. Yes, what that screen was showing you is when your followers are active. Amy said my people are active early, mid-afternoon, but it never changes. It's never changed in the months I've used Iconosquare. Yeah, mine hasn't either, so I just need to take a note of it. And then Classy Squid said, yes, it's totally worth it. In my opinion, the stats are so valuable. I definitely get way more engagement if I post when it says to me too. So this is what I want you guys to think about it with your customer path. If you sell something, like I know many of you do, knitwear designs or cards or $10 art, your customer path can be a lot shorter. People can see your thing on Instagram, click through the link in your profile, buy it. They don't have to do all of that, signing up for the newsletter, learning to know, like, and trust you, etc. And Juliana says you do have to post at different times to give Iconosquare different data. That's a good point. So your customer path from Instagram to buyers might be much shorter than mine is. Mine, I'm just like being like, hi, I'm Tara. I talk about these things. Maybe you want to come through and sign up for a newsletter and read my blog or listen to my podcast. You guys who sell a physical product that's under $50 or $75, you are saying, hi, see this gorgeous thing I sell? You can go buy it right now, because people are ready to buy right then, right? So the link is to Instagram or Ravelry. I think, Libby, you're asking then in the profile is the only place you can have a link that works. Link to the thing you're talking about. Change that link up. If you post a new, Libby is a knitwear designer, so if you post a gorgeous shawl that you are talking about, change the link in your profile to directly be able to buy it. And I think you already do that, Libby. It's just for everybody else to clarify so that they can immediately jump from, I see the thing, I love it, I'm ready to purchase it. And then they can click through your link and buy it. Another way you can do it is actually to sell it on Instagram, to say reply with your PayPal email address, or PayPal address, and I'll PayPal invoice you, and just sell it right then. I wouldn't do that though until you have a big enough followers and you are regularly getting sales from Instagram, because if you do that and then nobody replies, it looks kind of pitiful. But if you know that every time you post a skein of yarn, people click through and buy, you could start doing it on Instagram, and then you have social proof of how many people are excited to buy that skein of yarn. Libby says she also links to her newsletter sign up when I mention that. Yes, that's mostly what I do, is I mostly link to my newsletter sign up so that you can get to know me better if you like what I'm posting there. Oh, and Jolie gives you the tip of using a bit.ly link in your profile so you can see how many people click it. So if you go to bit.ly, you can make a short link, and if you sign up for an account, you can actually track how many people click on your links. Okay, so it's really funny as my phone is popping up a message from Latergram to remind me to post on Instagram right now. So the second part of knowing when to post is being sure to post at those times. You can set an alarm on your phone. You can set a reminder. I use the app Latergram. It's Gram, it's later, and then Gramme, which seems British for some reason to me. I'm not sure. And that app lets you load your picture, load what you want to say, and then set a time. It can't actually post to Instagram, but it can. What it does is it pops up on your phone and says, you have a post to post to Latergram, to remind you to post at that time. By the way, Jolie, people are saying on Periscope that that's a great idea, the bit.ly link thing. I use, well, we'll talk about links in a second. So that's how I actually post on time. So it's a combination of using Iconosquare and then going into Latergram. And so what I started doing that saw so much more engagement in my posts is, so Kathleen, Libby asks, do you post when you Periscope? Do you post on Instagram or you Periscope? That's an open question. You guys are welcome to answer. This is what I wanted to say though. So you have Periscope auto post to Twitter, right? But not to Instagram. I know a lot of people post on Instagram before they go live on Periscope. I don't, because I Periscope daily, and I think it would clutter up if I feel like all my Instagram posts would just be like, I'm on Periscope, I'm on Periscope. But that's just me because I only post 1 to 2 a day. So back to what I was saying, which was the link, Latergram, reminding you to post regularly. Right. Okay. So what I do is I actually will load up a couple in advance, 2 to 3. So for the next day or 2 in advance, especially if I've taken pictures that aren't time sensitive. Like when I went to Regram, Share Again, it's like somebody got my book in the mail and they took a picture of it. When I went to, when I take a picture of my knitting projects, I've now started taking multiple different shots of my knitting projects so I can share them over the next couple days, especially because as it now gets dark here at 5:30 in the afternoon, and I get no good photos once it's dark. The way my house is, the way my lights are, it just doesn't, it's really hard to get a good photo. So if I'm going to take a picture in the middle of a day of my knitting, and actually I have knitting right here to knit on in case I got stressed out about the webinar. If I was going to take a picture of this, I would take a couple different angles so that I could share it a couple times. And sometimes I'll share it and I'll talk about the knitting project. Sometimes I will share it and I will talk about something else. I'll be like, this is what I'm working on, and I'm also thinking about this work-related thing. Or someone will ask me a question and I want to answer it on Instagram. So I share a picture that I know people like a picture of, like knitting, or the leaves, or the skyline, or my dogs. And I actually write about the thing I want to write about. So it doesn't have to be that you're just writing about the thing that the post is about. Variances I've tried to post ahead of time. So the thing about posting ahead of time, again, is to not so much do it ahead of time, but to do it when people are paying the most attention, to actually make sure that based on Iconosquare, you're posting at the times that people are most active. And because I was posting when people were not active at all, I wasn't seeing good results. So just by changing that, that was one of the things I did to see good results. So Kathleen and Libby are now planning to Periscope together. I love that idea. Okay, so there were some comments in the, okay, yes, and Classy Squid saying posting on Latergram, like deciding what you're going to post ahead of time, saves a lot of time. So what I find is that when my people most want me to post is in the evenings. That's when they're most active. But in the evenings, I am like turned off from work. I do not want to write a whole explanation about how confidence can help your business or what I learned today on Periscope, because I'm like done with work for the day, right? I have a work day. I started in the morning. I ended in the evening. I want to hang out on the couch with my dogs and my husband. So by using Latergram, I can write up ahead of time when I'm actually in writing work focus mode and have it post later. Now, because Latergram actually makes you open it and post it like live, I actually get on Instagram. I comment on people's comments. I reply to everybody right then when the action is happening. I don't post it and then just go away. I actually am engaged then, but I've already done all the hard thinking. For me, writing the thing under the Instagram post is the hard thinking, right? I want to say the right thing. I want it to be edited. I want to not just like be blah, blah. So, which I would be if I didn't think about it ahead of time. I'd just be like, blah. So by pre-writing it, I'm actually making better content for my followers. And remember, going back to strategy, my strategy is good content and being myself. So I have to do what it takes to get good content, and that includes thinking about it during a time of day when I think best, but then giving it to people to a time of day when they most want to see it. So that's one thing. It's one thing that took a long time to explain. That's one thing that I did to help grow my Instagram following. The second thing is to really, really pay attention to my photos and everybody says this, Instagram's all about the pretty photos, but I've now made it so that my Instagram feed are photos that best represent my business and who I am online versus just here's what I'm eating and it looks kind of messy, right? And I mean, a lot of what I'm eating, especially because it's like a lot of it is vegan and interesting, and my husband like will plate it beautifully when he makes dinner. That is interesting, and that is bringing that second aspect, which is like bringing me so you can get to know me. But a lot of times it's not pretty because it's already dark here and there's no good lighting, and then I turn on the overhead light and it's all yellowy and there's no editing that makes it look good. So by choosing not to post those pictures and instead focus on pictures that are my best photos, that I've seen better results from it. I get more comments and more likes on my photos more often because I'm actually posting my best photos, which seems really obvious, but I wasn't doing it before, so I have to bring that up. If you scroll back like 4 or 5 months in my Instagram feed, which I don't encourage you to do, the posts there'll be a good one, there'll be a blah one, there'll be a great one, there'll be a blah one. So Mary says, Developmental Fiberworks, I struggle with this. I think everybody does. It takes time. We talked about a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I talked about being authentic and not being a hot mess, and how it's your job to be in integrity with what your brand is, whatever you show. So that means if you want to show your, Carrie says, always think my photos should tell the story of who I am. So avoiding clutter. Yes. So there's a fine line between being completely polished and fake and just choosing your best photos. I think of it like as long as it's integrity with who I really am and I'm not lying or pretending I'm fancier than I am. And Libby says that she doesn't really want to show her kids, but she's been asked to show more of her life. But I think that's a line for you to draw. You need to decide what you're comfortable with and what parts you want to share, because your business Instagram account is not for you to just be like, blah, here's all of me and myself, unless that's what your business is based on. But for most of us, our business is based on a small, at least some part of professionalism, getting things out the door on time, delivering what we say we're going to deliver. And so you want to reflect that in your Instagram account. So Jolie says, I was the same, Tara, using Instagram as a family scrapbook. My focus on better content has gone from 400 to 1,300 followers in a few months. That's Jolie of Jolie's Kitchen. You can follow her at Jolie's Kitchen on Instagram. So yeah, she's gone from 400 to 1,300 followers. So Jolie, I want you to do an Periscope where you talk about what you've learned from Instagram, because that I want to watch. Yeah, that's so what she said, using it as a family scrapbook, which remember, think about the customer path. If you're following me on Instagram because you already know and like me and we met at a conference and we talked over coffee and you've been reading my emails for 3 years, then showing those photos are perfect, right? That's a way for you to connect. All the family scrapbook, the what I'm eating, the kind of fuzzy, dark photos, but oh, I'm excited because I'm here now. That's perfectly in alignment with everything. But if Instagram is at the beginning of my customer path, if Instagram is the thing that you do to first meet me and learn about what I make, then a different set of photos are going to make sense. If you're already my pal, then the photos of just my normal family life are perfect. But if I want Instagram to become a tool for new people to meet me and learn about me, then I'm going to share a different kind of thing. Oh, and Carrie says, I tend to be turned off by feeds with too much private content. That's interesting. I know other people who are turned off by feeds that seem extremely staged. Like I have a friend who all of her photos are in fact staged, and she hires somebody to shoot them. And then she actually writes the content underneath them. And that works beautifully for her. She gets all kinds of traffic, and that's kind of her business model. And that is fine. And I've had other people be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she does that. I would never follow her. But her content and what she writes on Instagram is great. So Libby says, I've got enough personal content at home. Right. So it's all about who your person is. Does your person, is part of your branding that you're a hot mess and you're seeing into your every corner of your home? For example, Jenny of the Blogess, her blog is built on this. It's a huge blog. Even the Yarn Harlot to a point, like it's humor, right? It's humor about her life. Now she does a lot of excellent writing that makes you feel like you know everything about her, but clearly you don't. And the same thing is true of like Deuce, which is like one of the first blogs like that. Those blogs are built on, I'm a hot mess, here are all the corners of my life. But not the Yarn Harlot, she's not a hot mess. She's like my knitting idol. But those other two blogs, the Blogess and Deuce, are built on here's all the corners of my life. So it makes sense if their Instagram feeds are like messy, whatever. But if you're selling a product, that's not so much what you're selling. And again, you want to think about where people are on your customer path towards buying your thing and where Instagram fits into that customer path. Okay? So that helped. Thinking of Instagram not as the middle, but as the beginning. And so showing pictures that people who don't know me could get to know me through. And the next part of that is using hashtags so people who don't know me could find me. So what I needed to look at, and what you need to look at, are what are the hashtags. I'm playing with my dog in his bone, by the way. That's why I'm like being tugged over to the side. Oh, good job. Just lay down with it. Looking at what are the hashtags that your people use, not the hashtag that other people like you, like other people who make jewelry or make bags or who are knitting designers, not those hashtags, but the hashtags that your same people use those on your thing. So if you sell fiber, spinning fiber, you can use the hashtag spinning fiber. If you sell finished yarn, don't use the hashtag spinning fiber because your knitters are buying the finished yarn, right? Use the hashtag yarn or knitting or crochet. And Libby says she looks at other feeds to see what they use. Exactly. So you want to be careful if you're looking at other feeds of people who do what you do. Instead, you want to look at feeds who are your buyers. What hashtags do they use, right? And Classy Squid says to remember to relook at hashtags periodically because they change over time. Absolutely. I always click through the hashtags that I use to just see what kind of content's being shared, because sometimes like a spammer or advertisers will take over a hashtag and then it's just not useful anymore. But I try to, so because I help makers and artists in their business, I use hashtags that makers and artists use who have a business. I try to as much as possible. Now, I'm still learning this. I'm still getting good at this. I don't know if there is a tool. If you guys have a tool that you'd like to share for doing this hashtag research, basically, if you just open up, I was going to show you on my phone, but my phone is being used for Periscope right now. If you open up Instagram and you go to search and you just type in different hashtags you think your people might use and then see who's posting there. If it is people who would buy your thing, use it. And if you can find some people who are your customers or who are just like your customers, watch the hashtags they use. So yesterday in the Starship chat, somebody who sells jewelry was talking to somebody who has bought her jewelry. And Karen is a jewelry buyer and Shannon is a jewelry maker. And Karen was saying, like, I buy all your jewelry. I love it. I didn't even really wear jewelry until I found you and I was buying it. And Shannon was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And I said, look, Shannon, from now on, never say you don't know who your person is. Your person is Karen. Karen buys your stuff and loves it. So Shannon, you should go stalk Karen. Figure out what hashtags she uses, what she posts about on Instagram, what she's most interested in. Ask her what social media she uses. Maybe she uses this instead of that. Maybe she's on Snapchat. And then do everything for her, right? Use the hashtag she's going to look at. And Classy Squid says, for me, it's mostly just going into Instagram and searching in there and looking at who follows me and perusing their feeds. Exactly. Stalk your own followers. Iconosquare is great for that too. It'll point out what your most active followers are, and you can look at what they're doing. Yes, perfect. Yes, I've looked at that on Iconosquare twice, but my most active followers are people I already know. They're already in the Starship. I already talk to them every week, so it's I know them. But if you are hearing, oh, you should know who your avatar is, you should know who your person is, you should talk directly to your right person. That's how you do it. Is you just look at who's following you, who's bought from you, and you stalk them. Okay, so hashtags is a part of it. Jay just texted me about my glasses. Okay, so the next part of what I did differently, and this is the big thing, is I did a challenge. So you guys have seen challenges where I'll tell you what to post for 30 days in a row, and everybody will post that and they'll use the same hashtag. Ooh, let's back up from challenge. Have a hashtag. So I have a hashtag for the podcast. It's hashtag Explore Your Enthusiasm. If you listen to the podcast, I ask you at the end, please share what you are working on while you're listening, because most people are crafters, so I know they're knitting, stitching, walking, etc. while they listen. So I ask them to share that with the hashtag. What that does then is all of their followers see the hashtag, might ask about it, click through to it. I also regularly post to that hashtag with images of what a recent podcast episode was about. So if you were if one of your friends used the hashtag Explore Your Enthusiasm, you click through to it, it wouldn't take you long to find. Hold on. Hey, no. I have a Christmas gift bag back there and the dog wanted to paw at it. Yes, and check your hashtag. If you make a hashtag for your customers to use, make sure you're going in there regularly and commenting and liking the photos, because those are your best people. Those are people willing to tag themselves with you. They love you. Use that. So, hashtag. Along with a hashtag, you can create a challenge which invites people to share a specific kind of content regularly using the same hashtag. Now, as a Instagram user, it makes a lot of sense to join these kinds of hashtags because you meet other people and it can help build your following just by participating. So I recently did the Biz Confidence Challenge, and that's hashtag Biz Confidence Challenge. And what I noticed is that people who were participating were also commenting on each other's posts. And these are people they wouldn't have known unless they'd follow the hashtag. And then of course my programs have hashtags as well that I tell you when you're a member of the program so that you can connect with other members. It helps other members find each other. It also helps me keep an eye on everybody and see what are they working on? What are they care about? That gives me all that information about my right people, right? So I can be better and better aimed at serving them. So hashtag for your program, project, product, so you sell a physical product. When you send somebody something and you give them a little thank you card, include in the thank you card, use hashtag Shannon's Jewelry to share a picture of you wearing this. And you can even incentivize that in your newsletter. You can do giveaways based on drawing a name from the people who use this hashtag in the next week, and make sure that you're asking them to take pictures of your product. Because then what they're doing is if I say hashtag Shannon's Jewelry for this non-existent bracelet, I'm showing all of my followers your product and saying, I use it and I like it. It especially makes sense for knitwear designers because your people are actually sitting with your product for a long time as they work on it, as they knit on it. So have them share it with a hashtag for each product, each project, or even just in general, right? Like Truly Myrtle Designs might be a hashtag that everybody uses, especially when you're starting. So don't make too many, don't split up people too much before you have that many people using it. You want to wait until you get over 100 or 200 users of the hashtag before you make different ones, because you don't want a bunch of hashtags with just 5 each. It's going to be hard for you to keep track of, and it's also going to be really hard. It's not going to give you social proof, which is why you're using it to begin with. Social proof being other people are into your thing, so you're trustworthy. Okay? So the challenge part of it has been great because I it gave me a reason to tell people who are on my email list, hey, follow me on Instagram. And I think that's where some of my followers came from. And it also, hey, so Margaret just bought a book. Thanks, Margaret. I super appreciate it. You can find the books at tarasweiger.com/book. And it just popped up. So thank you. I appreciate it, Margaret. What was I saying? Oh, the challenge. So it gave me an excuse to tell my email subscribers, of which I have more email subscribers than I have any other followers on social media, because that's where I spend all my time and energy. Told them, follow me on Instagram to see my replies to these challenges. It also told Instagram, follow me and sign up for the email lessons in order to participate in this challenge and use this hashtag. So if you're curious about how all this works, I explain all of it on the page tarasweiger.com/bizconfidence. You can see what I instruct people to do at each stage. So it got more people to like my Facebook page because that was a part of it. It got more people to like me on Instagram because that was a part of it. And then it actually got people to participate by using a hashtag, which helped other people find me, because I could see on those, sorry, I'm looking over at my dog. Okay. I could see on those posts that, like, say someone with 2,000 followers was part of the Biz Confidence Challenge, she would have comments that would say, what is this? Who is this? And she would say, hey, go check Tara out, right? So it spread the word of what I'm doing to more people. That's the power of having your own hashtag. So those are the things I did to increase my Instagram followers. I posted at the right time using Iconosquare and Latergram. I thought of them at the beginning of the customer path. So I started using hashtags that would help those people find me at the very beginning. I started posting content for people at the beginning of the path and not the middle of the path. And hashtags, especially the Biz Confidence Challenge. So are there questions? Oh, that's a lot of stuff. So what's hilarious is I look very, very different in the webinar screen than I do on the Periscope screen, because Periscope is like a lot more light and bright, and I'm gonna have to improve my lighting for the webinar. So I am here for reals. We just talked about what I did in the last month to increase my Instagram followers by a couple hundred. Are there questions about anything I talked about? Did you guys enjoy it? If you did, you can share the Periscope, slide over and share it. And if you're watching the webinar, you can share this by scrolling down and hitting the share button. Also, if you're watching the webinar, you can see at the bottom of your screen to register for the Defeat Overwhelm webinar, which will be much more organized and well lit next Friday. That's okay if you missed it, Amanda. You can just watch the replay. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you said it was great info. Any questions? Don't worry about the webinar. You saw it all. I gave everybody a link in my last Periscope just to help me test the software for what I did. So this was the exact same thing, but on the new software too, so that I could test it. The real webinar, the actual workshop, which will have slides and worksheets and questions and homework for you guys, and it will be an hour of free content, will be Friday, December 11th, and you can sign up for it at tarasweiger.com/defeatoverwhelm. I haven't announced it to anybody but you guys on Periscope yet. Well, and I told the Starship about it. But so I'm going to be doing a big announcement about it next week, but you can sign up for it now and get your seat. Thank you, Kathleen. I hope this helped. You guys have been asking me to talk about it more. And yeah, remember, mission and then strategy and then tactics. Do not go and just find a bunch of tactics before you know where your business is going. And if you want help knowing where your business is going, I am offering 2 programs that help you figure out where your business is going and then all the steps it's going to take to get there, including profitability and marketing. I'm going to be talking all about that on the webinar on December 11th, and you'll get a big discount. How do we log into that? You go to tarasweiger.com/defeatoverwhelm. That will sign you up for the webinar that's happening December 11th. Carrie says, you're still mystified? Are you mystified about Instagram? If so, tell me. Raylan's decided he wants to play, so we might have to end it. And I have a one-on-one session in 20 minutes. Oh, I'm so glad that it's been good. So if you're mystified, you need to think about a few things. 1, who are your people? If you don't know your people, nothing matters, right? Where do you want to go in your business? And what are the strategies, the big picture that you're using to connect with your people? Instagram might not be it. Then when you start thinking about Instagram, ask yourself, where on the customer path are these people? Because you know specifically who they are. And then what kind of content can you give them where they are to help them move to the next step? All right? I hope that helped. Thank you guys so much for being here. I super appreciated it. I'm going to close the webinar because there's nothing else happening in the chat there. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Bye, guys.